Dear ladies and gentlemen, today I'm going to say a few words about one interesting event that's going to happen in early November in Poland, not too far away from Warsaw, the capital of that Central European country. That event, organized by the so-called Russian political opposition, is going to result in the creation of Russian national government in exile. Is it a good news or bad news? What do you think? Well. I can tell you that for those here in the West who would like to continue making money with Russian dictators, it's an excellent news. Why so? Self-explanatory. It will give an excuse to say that, all right, now Russia is free and democratic country again. We should lift all the sanctions. We should resume a normal relationship with that country. And Ukraine should stop complaining about her lost occupied territories and should calm down. You remember, in the year 2008, when Russia invaded Georgia, Condi Rice, while talking to Georgian President Mikhail Saakashvili, used to say the same phrase, Misha, calm down. That means forget about the lost territory. We are not going to escalate the conflict with Russia. At the same time, a question may arise. Is it going to be good for the Russian people or for Russia's neighbors? I hate saying that, but my answer is no, not at all. Why so? According to the open sources, by the way, I'm not talking about anything that cannot be found in the open sources. And what I'm discussing with you right now can be found in the open sources in Poland. Well, they are not in English or in German, but Polish open sources are still open sources indeed. By the way, there are also some Russian open sources discussing the same issue. So, what are the variants of the new Russian government in exile? In fact, there are two variants. Variant number one, the new government in exile will consist of the former veterans of KGB, just like Vladimir Putin. And probably the new president is going to be Mr. Comrade Patrushev. Well, it's quite clear that this national government will be absolutely no different from the government of Vladimir Putin. Same people. By the way, Vladimir Putin didn't fall down from heaven or didn't crawl out from some underground caves of the hell. He was put to power by the representatives of KGB and by those in the West who were behind them. So there will be no difference, period. There is another variant. The representatives of the so-called Russian opposition could come to power, and probably the new president would be even Mr. Navalny, who is now in jail in Russia. And this would be even better excuse for resuming normal relationship with that country. Our mainstream media could say, oh, look, the representatives of the democratic opposition are now at power. So let's forget about the sanctions. Let's stop the war in Ukraine. Let Ukraine calm down regarding the occupied territories. And now we're all friends again. Bad variant as well. Because I hate saying that, but Mr. Navalny will be Putin number 2. Cosmetically different though. Why am I saying that? That's very simple. Before Navalny was in jail, he was asked about the Crimea. And he clearly stated that from his perspective, Crimea should belong to Russia. By the way, the same refers to Ksenia Sobchak. When she was claiming to be the future president of Russia, you remember, that show took place and she even visited the United States to discuss that. She also mentioned that Crimea is not a plate at the party that could be forwarded to someone and then given back to someone else. And that also means that she is backing up Russian claims for Ukrainian territories. Not to mention that both of them, of course, would back up Russian occupation of Abkhazia and South Ossetia, those two Georgian provinces that have been occupied by Russia since 1992. Now a question may arise. Okay, Russian government in exile would be a fake card, so what's the solution of the crisis? My personal answer is very simple. In my humble opinion, the so-called Russian Federation should and even must fall apart, just like the USSR fell apart. It also needs to be disarmed. I mean, not it, but the new countries that are going to be formed after the collapse of Russian Federation should be disarmed so that they would not be able to threaten the neighbors and the rest of the world. And also they should not be able to influence the rest of the world financially or by any other means. Are those new countries going to be good countries? Not necessarily. Most likely, absolute majority of them would be bad countries. But at least they would not threaten the neighbors. And a couple of them probably could become some decent nations, like Estonia, for example, that was restored after the fall of the Soviet Union. So there are some reasons for optimism, but only in case of disintegration of the so-called Russian Federation. No alternative Russian government or government in exile could solve the problem. Only the dissolution of federation. That's my opinion. I'm not going to insist on it, but as a historian and political scientist, I believe that my opinion has certain right to exist. So wishing you all the best, and we'll talk to you later about something else. Bye bye.